We're live on Facebook. Hello, friends. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas, and welcome to tonight's edition of Straight Talk. Now, of course, every show I do, I'm excited about, but this one is probably the most important topic that we've done so far, at least in my way of thinking. Tonight's topic is how we embrace our own inner divine feminine, inner divine masculine, recognizing on one level, masculine and feminine lives inside of all of us. But then how do we reconcile? How do we really honor and acknowledge our wounding on a personal level by the other gender? How do we acknowledge the wounding that perhaps we've created or done? How do we honor? How do we heal? How do we rise above it? And also recognizing that we all have our personal hurts and pains and dynamics and drama, but there's also the transpersonal that we all are kind of connected to as well. So we're going to be tackling these topics tonight. And I'm so grateful because every person that I asked to be on the show said yes. And I asked, like, honestly, my favorite speakers on the topic. So I'm going to briefly just pop a spotlight on everybody. First of all, my partner in Straight Talk, this is Trish.
Good evening. How are you today?
And we've got Eden Amadora, who actually, we did a show together a couple of weeks ago. This topic came up and I said, how about we tackle it? She said, yes, let's do it. And so that's how it happened. And so we're going to hear from Eden Amadora. We've got an amazing couple, Patro and Antoinette. She is one of the leaders of the Wall of Moms in Portland. Patro has taken both of them have taken their celebrity as musicians to really be powerful activists. But in getting to know them, they have a beautiful marriage and a beautiful way of seeing marriage. So really looking forward to hearing what they have to say. And then we have Michael Dyer, and we've had Michael on the show a few times. He's one of our favorite guests. And Michael, I'm really eager also really to hear what you have to say. So, and I think John and Summer Raymer might pop in, the founders of the Sign Network, also married with a 20-year age difference, which is always kind of interesting. But I'm going to go first to Eden Amadora. And I'd love for you to really kind of share what you had shared with me before that inspired, hey, we got to talk about this. So tell us a little bit about your background and your transition.
Thank you, Scott. It's an honor to be here. I love this subject. I've been a Divine Feminine Mystery School initiate and then a teacher in this lineage of the 13 Moon Mystery School for 11 years now. And as we are focusing on the elevation and amplification and balance of the Divine Feminine on the planet, after years of being in circles with women and hearing what's going on with the men, why are they not apparently seeming to be awakening or evolving or meeting us or doing the work, I started to feel there was something really going on here with our seeing of the masculine and the division and the almost like the judgment. And one of the most painful aspects of my own life has been that search for the idealized beloved outside of the self, this kind of looking to be rescued, the looking for the sexy Jesus, the Lion King, the Prince Charming, the Superman outside the self. And at the point of my own kind of mystery school initiation where I felt like, okay, my relationships still remain the area where I have this strong prayer to live embodied love. And that being said, there's still so much suffering and so much pain in my romantic relationships. I went through a dark night of the soul where I found myself kind of in a very painful breakup once again. And then instead of just blaming and shaming and feeling victimized at the height of the Me Too movement, projecting onto the man that I felt like shattered my dream, my idealized vision, fantasy, I started to really recognize that there's an energetic that was at play between me and all the men I've been with that is part of the system, the patriarchal system, the division, the warring, the othering, the blaming, the shaming, the projection. And I got really real with myself, and I saw that this energy isn't just in men, what we'd call toxic masculinity, this warring energy, this kind of like overblown yang, the fight energy is in all of us. And the struggle was really about the ego. And I owned where I was running that same energy. I saw it clearly. And I came into this kind of point of reconciliation within my own heart that, spiritually speaking, is known as the inner marriage. It is called Heros Gamos in the great mystic traditions, where we meet the beloved within. And lo and behold, there's like a sunburst that awakens within our own heart, where as women, we recognize our own animus is that Christos, that divine sun God inside of us. And for men, it is the great Shakti, the great opening of the heart of unconditional love, the divine mother's love that awakens in their heart. And as we both come into balance and wholeness and union in our own hearts, then we'll know peace between genders, peace between us relationally. So I'm still in the initiation of integrating that incredible initiation that happened years ago. It's not a linear process. So I start to recognize where I'm still running that same warring energy, that same division, othering, blaming, and egoic toxic energy, whether it's toxic yang, which is the fight, or toxic yin, which is the collapse and the victim consciousness. It's about coming into the divine feminine, divine masculine balance, where women become very discerning and speak truth as love and clarify and really become sovereign unto themselves, and men unshield their hearts and learn how to be vulnerable and surrender and receive. So this is the piece I carry forward, and I hold initiations for others to come into this balance and recognize their wholeness.
Wow. Thank you. And definitely a lot more to hear from you and all of our amazing panelists. And thank you for just the courage of doing that work, and want to hear even more about that. I'm putting the spotlight on our couple, Patro and Antoinette. And likewise, I've been so inspired by your marriage, how you hold your marriage. And we're going to see a video that they created a little bit later on in the show. But Patro, you had said something a while back in one of our earlier shows about how you see your beloved. And I'd love for you to share that, and then Antoinette, how that feels and what that brings out in you.
Can you hear me okay?
We sure can. You sound great.
Okay. I guess for me, it's been a long journey of, coming out of the ideology that, a man is the head of the house and the man is the dominant figure in the relationship. But I guess as a child, I observed my stepfather beating my mother all the time. From the age of my first childhood memory is violence of my stepdad beating my mom. And the first conversation I remember hearing as a child, still in my crib, was my mom threatening to cut his throat if he ever hit her again. And of course, he continued beating her until I was 6. And then when I was 6, my mother had 3 children for him, all younger than me. And she ended up coming in one day, grabbing her case and running away. And he tried to murder us. He set the house on fire, locked us in a room and set the place on fire. So I had to save my brothers. Then the next relationship she was in, we were reunited when I was at the age of 8. The next relationship she was in was with a guy from Jamaica who was a DJ, and he was a local gangster, pimp, hustler, and I became his security guard for his illegal parties at the age of 8. So I was surrounded from the age of 8 to 15. I was listening to all of the male conversations about what they did, how they did it, who they did it to. And I was exposed to everything that the grown-up males were doing in my community, from robbery, violence, sex, you name it, drugs. I was aware of all of it at a very young age. And so I never really grew up around any role models that taught me that women had any value. You know, women, as far as I grew up knowing, were just, you know, items that men used for sex or used for cooking or used for taking out their anger on. It wasn't until I started my spiritual journey that I started to develop a deeper respect for women, and in my own relationships. I guess I had so much love for my mother, who was so tough and resilient through all of it, you know, and she kept 5 boys and 2 girls, you know, in order, because she had to be the mom and the dad. So by the time I met Antoinette, you know, I was firmly rooted in the Urantia book, which teaches that Jesus Christ is the creator of this universe, but that he also has a partner in his creation who is called the Mother Spirit. And that the Mother Spirit is actually responsible for more things than Christ Michael in this universe.
Wow.
And that after Christ's 7th mission, which was to this planet, he had done 6 other missions to other planets. But after his 7th and final mission of having to become a human being on our world, when he got back home, he made a universal declaration, which is only our local universe of 10 million planets. He made a declaration that from this point forward, the Mother Spirit should be treated as his equal. And he made a declaration of equality. And they say, the celestial beings say, that this is now the example for our entire universe, that women and men are supposed to be side by side. When Adam and Eve came to this planet, they were the first example of a woman and a man working side by side, teaching together, growing agriculture, horticulture, being spiritual delegates together side by side, which was supposed to be the example for all humanity. But, you know, they messed up. So they ended up having to leave the planet. So we lost our example of celestial life on our planet side by side. And everything that Eden said is very true, that men and women are different, but in their differences, there is to be found an equality, which can only be recognized on a spiritual level and then brought down to our humanity. So in honoring and in answering your question, Scott, when I look at my wife, I look at my partner, even though she will say she's the boss. I look at my equal partner in all things. I lift her up when she feels as though she can't do something. I encourage her to do it and to fail if she has to fail, but to have the courage to keep trying. And so I make her my equal in all things, financially, musically, spiritually. We are equal in all things, and I honor and respect her as my equal in all things. And I try my best at all times to be sensitive of her needs as a woman. And so from a spiritual viewpoint and from spiritual teachings, educated me from where I came from. And it's also allowed me to recognize the feminine in men who have decided to become feminine, and the masculine in women who have decided to lean more towards their masculinity than their femininity. And one of Jesus's teachings says that in the kingdom of heaven, there is neither black nor white, rich nor poor, free nor bond, male nor female. Everyone is a child of God equally. So I'm going to stop there and let the boss step in.
Well, you basically said what I was going to say. But Patro was the one who did introduce me to the Mother Spirit. And then later I was attending these gathering sisters sharing circles and Urantia women's, students of the Urantia book, learning more about the feminine divine. And one of the things about that was that the equality is not even without us learning about it. It's just that we just see it everywhere. So if we see everything, like from the birds and the bees and the plants and the trees and everything has this male and female equality to it, then why would not be in the universe as well too? It only just makes logical sense to me. I'm like Spock, it has to make sense to me. Where's the logic in any of this? So creation, all of creation regarding the plants, animals, and human beings is male and female, and the world would not be existing without it. So it only made sense from a higher level up that same process would be the same way, in the universe and also here on this planet. And then there was many times that they've tried throughout history, to have this type of equality, but it was always shot down by men, because even the way all the religions started, they still recognize a certain feminine divine, but they're still being subjugated even to this day as far as the equality of women within the spiritual community, as far as female ministers, female rabbis, female Buddhist monks, and different things. The guys are still trying to hold a certain place for them when their place should actually be side by side. But I think people are actually kind of coming out of that today. It's actually kind of changing that, that when we were in Thailand and we did that U-Day festival that time in 2012, where the Turkish, they're of the Baha'i faith, but they weren't Baha'i, they were Sufi or something. Yeah. But when they were doing the call to prayer, they asked me to stand by him to do the call of prayer.
That
and I was
a
like,
Muslim prayer.
Yeah, it was. It was a
prayer.
Muslim prayer. And he asked me to stand by his side while he did the prayer. So I would do the English translation. I said, really, you want me to stand next to you, not in a separate room behind a curtain, where we watch and, but, by side. So I think Pato said it before, when you grow into your religion, eventually you'll actually grow out of it and become more spiritual. So I see people moving more progressive these days and starting to see this type of equality. But I think the word of getting the divine feminine out there is still, we still have a long way to go, to really educate this. Mm-hmm.
A long, long way to go. And a little bit later on, I definitely going to want you to talk a little bit about the Wall of Moms and both how Patro supports you with that and the power of that. So we're going to go to Trish in a moment, but before then, I'm going to put the spotlight on Michael. Michael, hey, good to have you back with us, Michael. Thank you so much.
Hello.
So what are your first thoughts about this topic, about how you embrace your divine masculine while working to honor the divine feminine, either within you or in the external world?
Well, for me, growing up as a child, I knew nothing of the masculine. For example, take a kid who was raised by women. I was raised by a woman, and what I saw was women. What I saw protecting me was a woman. Who I saw nurture me was a woman. So for me, this is an interesting subject because I feel that I have more feminine energy than masculine energy. I'm the guy that, I go to the movie and I'm crying worse than the girl. I'm the guy just feeling everything in the world. So for whatever reason, the creator wanted me to have this experience. And I think it's for a great reason because it made me tap into my emotions. Now, as a kid, I didn't realize, because I hated my emotions, because being emotional, and trying to be a man is just not a powerful move. Even when you're dating, women most likely was not really attracted to me. They were more attracted to the guy with the manly thing, who the hard dude. They used to tell me I want a bad boy, that ego type of guy that wanted to protect them, which I could protect them, but I was sensitive at the same time. So looking at me and being with me, that my image was not very, was not what most women were looking for. And so I hated myself because I felt that I was too soft. I felt that this feminine me was a curse. Now, after I got older, I'm beginning to see that is actually my gift. Now, sometimes it still can be a curse because in the world that we live in is a very masculine world. And so I have to begin to be okay with it. I have to also be able to understand that it's a gift and not a curse. So looking at these terminologies that we're using, you know, until I'm listening to a lot of you guys talking right now, and Eve and you know, and everyone, is that I'm looking at the fact is I didn't have those downloaded definitions. So because I didn't have the definition of what they meant until recently in my life, I'm beginning to put things in order. So for me, it's like I'm understanding that the divine feminine, and once I tap into that, it will begin to attract the right person who can see my strength, see me, and appreciate that part of who I am. There's more to say, but I'm gonna stop there.
Thank you. Well, and again, we'll be hearing more from Michael and Eden, Patro and Antoinette. And I get to put the spotlight on my partner in Straight Talk, Trish. Trish, what comes up for you? What do you want to share as your?
Well, I love this topic. You know, I think that I'm just going to kind of break it down a little bit for some of the people who might be watching, who might not understand the term divine feminine, divine masculine. I'm just going to like drop it down a little bit because we're way out here. That there's these energies that run through our bodies and run in the dualism of life, right? So the feminine, the energetic, caring, the fluid, the flowing, the sensual in us, the caring, the mother. And just think about the idea of what you carry as feminine. And then there's this masculine that's a lot more logical and has more directness, and it has a stronger holding, a presence. And what I really loved about what Eden was speaking about is that there's these energies that move within us. And when you honor both the feminine and the masculine within you is where you can expand your capacity to love and magnetize the partners that you want and need in your life, you know? I wrote a note earlier about the integrated halves, that the integration between that. And I'm so lucky to have been born in the time that I have been born in. The millennial generation is pretty queer. I'm just gonna say it. Like we're definitely playing in the realm of, you know, playing with the feminine and masculine. I don't actually have very many male friends that wouldn't wear a dress right now. I mean, who wear makeup and who are really in touch with their feminine. And I like to play in the realms of the masculine because it feels right. It feels that there's like a equality and a balance between. It's no longer about the body in the physical form. It's about the energy that I'm bringing in or are honoring, you know? So that's just one of the little things, just the honoring of both energies.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I had a feeling you'd probably go there. Yes, Eden.
So I love what you just said, Trish. And you know, I took people into a meditation today in a class I taught where we talked about the Shiva and the Shakti and the two spiraling waveforms of creation that create the entire manifest universe. And we can think about the Yin Yang symbol and how it is all in balance. Just as our beloved had said, we see it in nature, we see it everywhere, the balance. So why would it not also long to come into balance within our own psyches, our own hearts, our own bodies? And when we think about feminine, we think about the power of this gravitational inward, downward magnetic spiral that takes spirit all the way into form, the eminent mother that brings light and spirit into matter. The goddess Sophia, the myth is Sophia, is about her embedding herself in matter, the intelligence in matter. And then the electric exploding Shiva, the masculine spiraling waveform of creation, is like stars bursting like the Big Bang into the void, into the mother's dark womb. And that is the same as semen bursting into the dark womb space to create life, right? So all of these frequencies always work together. That is reality. That is how life is formed in our lives. And when I think about our challenges and our issues between genders, what I'm aware of is that we're dealing with more of this programming, that a system we've been in for a long time. When you look at the Christian cross, for example, we have a very long vertical axis and a shorter horizontal axis. In ancient traditions, the Celtic cross, the pagan cross, the Native American medicine wheel was balanced. The solar cross was honoring the feminine and the masculine equally. So the vertical and the horizontal were balanced, and they were encircled with a circle of sanctity and wholeness and union. So this is about coming back into balance within our psyches and our hearts. And that is how we rise together and shift the system that we're in. I love all the exciting
Yes,
stuff.
yes, yes, yes.
A couple of just housekeeping. We're getting some wonderful questions coming in from our attendees in the Zoom room. So I want to just encourage the panelists to take a look at those questions, and you can tackle any of the questions that stand out for you. We'll kind of go there next. And for those attendees, when you're putting your questions out there, send it to both attendees and panelists. In other words, when you go down to the chat box, that little blue bubble, click to all panelists and attendees so that everybody's seeing, what everybody else is saying. And we can also chat back and forth that way. So we're going to use the chat box because we've got some great questions coming in. I want to put forward one thought, which any of you can respond to, and then also any of the questions that you want to respond to as well. One of the things I was trained that I really believe in is that in practical terms, and I'm just going to say right now, when we're in a more traditional gendered relationship, a man gender, who identifies themselves as a man, woman identifies herself as a female. And we totally honor and respect transgender on this show, absolutely. But just for the purpose of this particular point. One of the things I've coached a lot of couples to do is to do what I call the holding practice. We're recognizing that we're mammals and we need homeostasis. And at least once a day to hold each other, and for the man to hold the woman, and for the woman to find a position where she can completely relax into his arms. And for the man to literally become the divine masculine, providing the safety. And for the woman, once she feels safe, she becomes a clear channel for God, a clear channel for spirit, whatever you want to call it. God, spirit, life, higher self, whatever you want to call it. Because it seems to me that that's part of the divine plan. And when a woman feels safe is when magic happens. That's when she can make a baby. That's when she can channel and bring through creative vision because she has the womb. And so it's our job as men to provide that safety. And of course, so tragic listening to Patro's story of how he grew up, which is, of course, the exact antithesis of that. And so just curious if any of you relate to that idea as a practical way, because a lot of couples I've worked with that have been fractured, doing that practice has helped the man to feel strong again and for the woman to feel safe with her man again. And it helps to rebuild the trust that we all want to have with each other. So curious if anybody has anything to share about that or any responses to that. Trish.
So I've been really contemplating this term toxic masculinity a lot. And I've also been in just the balance of it all. I really like to make it all even. So the toxic femininity and toxic masculinity, because I heard a term recently called tonic masculinity from our dear friend Roxy. And of course, I have to dive into this term because I haven't heard it before. Toxic masculinity is when the masculine aspects are out of balance. And this creates, a lot of weird pain, suffering sort of things. And there's also this toxic femininity where it's manipulative and also traumatic. And then when it's in balance, when you're owning and honoring this place of holding space for the feminine to do her fluid moment, her motion, her all her things, like that is a tonic for the feminine spirit, when the masculine holds space and when the feminine can hold space for her man to be in his power. Like that, I love that. Yeah, Scott, I love that practice. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you. Any of our panelists want to tackle any of the questions that have come up? Eden.
I want to say something else about what you just mentioned, Scott, because it's really powerful. This practice was also suggested to me and a new partner where we have a lot of trauma in our nervous systems from past relational damage. So we'll just say, like, the past becomes present, and even if it's not relational adult relations, it's early childhood traumas, and then even ancestral trauma and ancient samskaras from all our lives of surviving on this planet in a system that's really scary. And when my partner and I came together, I recognized we both had some of these kind of insecure attachment wounds and abandonment fears. And it was suggested to do this holding practice and set a timer for 3 minutes and don't talk. Because the ego mind wants to run with stories, and it wants to blame and shame and project and make the other person responsible for our emotional experience. And that continues to just bounce off each other until we're creating separation and scarcity consciousness, and there's not enough love, and there's not enough attention, and there's not enough time. And when we come back to the breath, like you suggest, and the mammal body co-regulates and down-regulates, suddenly we come back into present moment awareness, and our hearts soften. And then all of a sudden, the person you wanted to just run away from or punch, you see them through the eyes of the heart again, and there's the beloved. And there's this beautiful being that you fell in love with. And it's like magic. 3 minutes with a timer can do this. When you stop letting the ego mind run the show and the old patterns run the show.
Absolutely. I always say the body remembers love so much faster than the mind and the ego. And like when we are holding each other and the mind is still running, but you did this and you said this, blah, 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 and the body's going, shut up, just shut up. This feels really good, So Mike.
Yeah, I want to speak on I think he said something very important. For me, I look at the masculine as being the ego. I look at my heart as being the feminine. And so for me, I feel that I must first make peace with myself. For the mind is all logical, whereas the heart is coming from intuition. So even the conversation that I have sometimes is between my masculine and my emotional self. Within myself, there's a turmoil. Within myself, there is a battle. So until I can begin to make peace with that relationship, every other relationship becomes a reflection of my own battle within me. And what I feel is that as I begin to make peace with that, and I begin to love that part of myself, even the ego, because the ego is there basically for it to save me. It's used to give me advice. Hey, man, you better do this. Hey, don't let them take advantage of you. Hey, man, you know what? You better put them in place, dude. Man, you better watch out. Where's my heart? Very silent. And when I step into my heart, it's about, you are right. You are a spiritual being. So as I began to make peace with that, and I noticed every time I had a relationship that each one of those relationships was a lesson I need to learn. And I also found myself dating the same women in different bodies. Check that out. How is that possible? They don't even know each other. But what I realized is that who is the common denominator? It was always me. So when I began to love this part of me, I began to love who she is. I began to accept who she is because I've accepted my own. And if you realize it, that the role is always switching. Sometimes the woman becomes the masculine. Sometimes the man. I think what the problem is, if when I begin to think, I got to play the masculine role, she got to be the woman, she got to take her role. That's the illusion. I feel that because I believe that I'm a spiritual being before I took on this physical body with the penis and the vagina. I feel that first before I took on this. This is only a house that I get to wear right now. It's only my bio bodysuit that I can identify myself either or. That's why somebody who can be like, let's say gay or whatever, they can have that feminine energy in them. So we get mixed up looking at the body, thinking that body is who they are. No, it's who the soul is. So not judging a person based on the physical form, but allowing them to just express themselves because energy is energy.
I'd like to add to that too, from what Michael was saying, even from before, from the first thing that you had mentioned about with your being raised by women, and even with our relationship between me and Pato, I would say I'm the more masculine one, even though we kind of switch things up. You know, it's a role reversal. But sometimes I feel like I'm more masculine and he's more feminine, and other times I think I'm more feminine and he's more, you know, we do this good cop, bad cop thing, you know, when we have to business wise and stuff. It's like, all right, Potts, I need to go handle the business, you know, as a Black man. But I'm usually pretty hardcore most of the times. But one of the things that you had mentioned, I'm glad that you had brought that up too, because there's somebody that I met named Michael who has now just come out as trans and is now says it's a she, you know, she's now a woman. And she got me watching this show called Pose on Netflix, and I'm kind of addicted to the show because it's just really amazing, you know, just watching these stories of these women, you know, what they're going through, and you know, the fight and the struggle and everything. And just like you said, this body is just really the physical body, not who they actually are as the soul, and who they will be, exactly how they're going to be recognized after when we go into the afterlife. You know, if you are female, or you see yourself as a divine feminine, that's exactly what you will be, you know. And the same thing for male or women, men or women, you know, going into the afterlife. But one of the things that I had learned when we started studying the Urantia book was that there's 7 adjutant mind spirits that comes from the mother. And this is actually something that is a Wi-Fi spirit that everybody can tap into, male and female. And the 7 adjutant mind spirits, which we share 5 of them with animals already. One is the spirit of intuition. The second is the spirit of understanding. Third, the spirit of courage, the spirit of knowledge, and then 5, the spirit of counsel, and the spirit of worship and the spirit of wisdom are the last 2 that human beings only can
Tap into.
But I realized, and I said, oh my gosh, the spirit of intuition, all this time, it's like I didn't realize I could just tap into the mother. You know, when I could tap into the Father, I could tap into Christ, but there is something really special about the mother that everybody can tap into as well too. And that spirit of intuition, I realized that first instinct was actually the correct instinct. You know, like Maya Angelou used to say, believe them when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. And so that intuition is like, don't second guess. She was trying to tell you something from the get-go. If she's saying, don't go there, don't do that, don't whatever, that's something that men and women can all tap into. And that's a gift from the mother. But I started to listen to that more. And then I started to realize, you know, even though I do my prayers, but my prayers can go anywhere. It'll all get directed anyway. But there's certain things where I'm looking for that courage and that intuition as how I'm going to move forward in the work that I'm doing, you know, from the mother. And then there's the comfort of the Father, or also like just the choices, you know, that we're making, you know, in our life, you know, the God fragment from within ourselves. And then Christ's spirit of truth. It's like, ooh, truth. Got to get to that truth and everything, but I need all these other things combined. But, you know, it is a partnership. It's a trinity. It's a collaboration. It's a cooperation. And how they're giving us this guidance and this wisdom is something that it just helps me to live life on a better level, because everybody always wants to have all this beauty and goodness, but I'm like, we haven't gotten the truth yet. You know, life is still very difficult and it's still very hard. And to tell people it will just be easy if you just, you know, well, no, it's just not that easy. We really do need the help. And if we don't get the help, then we will totally drive ourselves mad, you know, go into depression or go into suicidal or drink ourselves to death, or, you know, just different vices, because, you know, life is difficult. But I know that knowing that we have help that can help us in this, and especially coming from the mother as well as the father, then we can actually do this, you know, our life will be better.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to just acknowledge so many cool comments are also coming in. A lot of people appreciating this. My friend Florence from Las Vegas writes, Michael articulated the chatter in his mind that is so common among men so well. I come up against what he was talking about daily. So it's beautiful to hear him share that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Schneider asks, if souls are gender specific and a male soul incarnates in a female body, or a female soul incarnates in a male body, then what are the consequences? And I guess there also that then raises a question, do you believe that souls are gender specific or not? So let's tackle that question. Anybody want to?
Patro, you should tell them about personality.
Well, I'll tackle that, considering the diversity of religious and philosophical viewpoints that are probably in this arena right now. But based on what I've studied and based on what the Urantia book teaches, it basically teaches that, firstly, that there is a Trinity in the universe, and that, you know, like when Jesus came and he prayed, he said, "Our Father who art in heaven." But the Urantia book also teaches that the first person that God created, in Christianity, they say Jesus was the Son of God, but in the Urantia book, it says that there is a eternal Son, which is higher than our Son of God, and that Jesus is actually a local universe Son of God. But the first Son of God that God created is known as the Mother Son. And that the third person of the Trinity is known as the Infinite Mother. So, and they explain it to us like that because we are sex creatures. Once we leave this universe and get beyond the local universe, sex is not that important, you know, and God, you can't really identify God as a male or female because God is transcendent of sex. But within God is a masculine nature and a feminine nature, just like within every human being, there is a masculine nature and a feminine nature. The thing with soul is identity. It is transcendent of material identity. Like Michael was saying, you are born into a body. Sometimes that body has a penis. Sometimes that body has a vagina. Sometimes for some people that body has a penis and a vagina. And sometimes the doctors have to choose what sex that child is going to be before that child can make its own choice. And we know that living in a world of materiality, that nature can make mistakes. And so sometimes a human body is prepared and the person within that body identifies as a soul, as a feminine. And yes, the soul is feminine or masculine, because once we wake up in the next world, we will still be identified as the parent of our children, the lover of our partner, the mother, grandparent, whatever it is, will still be identified by our sex. That as a human being, that goes on forever. You'll always be recognized as the male or female that you chose to be, because that is something that you can choose to be. Just like as masculine as Michael looks to me, you know, and those big muscles on his arms, I was pretty surprised to hear how feminine he is, you know, but that is a beautiful thing for him to man up and embrace his femininity, because most Black men have a very hard time talking about their femininity, because it seems as though it's a lack of masculinity, when really it's a balance of masculinity with your femininity. So yes, the soul, as far as the teachings I have, if you choose to be a man, you will be a man on your journey through the universe. And when I wake up in the next life, on the journey towards the center of the universe, I will be looking for Antoinette, and she will be my partner. We won't get married again, but we are told that we are allowed to continue our universe journey together and be partners together. And the last thing I want to say is, when you have one man and one woman that come together, it looks like two, but it's really three. Because you have the masculine, you have the feminine, and then when we come together and see eye to eye, you have the whole, which is the masculine and feminine in one, which is the whole, because it's meant to be a whole. And it's the same thing with the spirit that you have within you, which is not your soul. Your spirit within you is your true soulmate, because your spirit is what helps you develop your soul from within. So when you get together with your spirit as a personality, you create the soul, which becomes the trinity of the personality, the spirit, coming together, creating something new. So when me and Antoinette come together creatively, as a male and female in harmony, respecting each other's masculine and feminine divinity, living in harmony with God on a spiritual level, we create new things all the time. I'm done.
Drop the mic over there. Wow. Woo!
Beautiful.
Dropping bombs like that was, yes.
And sorry, I got to say one more thing. Someone asked, I think, if God is asexual.
Yes.
Yeah? Now, before I explain that very quickly, could somebody explain to me what asexual is?
Asexuality is a term that describes that one does not have sex, that their sexual attraction isn't stimulated by the genitals.
Okay, so let me give you a very, very quick explanation of this fragment of God, okay? I want everybody to imagine a bowl of sugar, okay? And just imagine that this bowl of sugar is God, okay? Now, take 1 grain of this sugar for yourself, all right? I want you to hold up your 1 grain of sugar, not the bowl, just hold up your grain. Now, when you look at this grain of sugar, is it any less than the sugar that's in the bowl?
No.
Not the quantity, the quality.
Yeah.
The quality of the sugar is exactly the same as the sugar in the bowl, right?
Right.
Now, when you take that sugar and put it in yourself, and you stir it up the way you stir up lemonade, that sugar, that piece of God dissolves within you and takes on your form. So this grain of sugar is not masculine or feminine, it is divine. If you have chosen to be masculine, that grain of sugar becomes a divine masculine grain of sugar. If you are feminine, that grain of sugar is a divine feminine grain of sugar. As you stir it up in your soul by making good decisions and righteous decisions, it integrates with you and becomes invisible so that nobody can see the difference between you and this divinity that is within you and becoming one with you. But they can identify it within you when you start to speak a little sweeter and talk, walk a little sweeter, because the more that sugar integrates with you is the sweeter you become on a divine level. I'm done.
That is beautiful. Absolutely
I
beautiful.
call that the Pato breakdowns. Every time we do our spiritual Zooms every week, I say, break it down for me, Pato, break it down.
We've got somebody requesting if you've got a Facebook page with the two of you, how people can get. So definitely going to want to hear from all of you how people can get more of your medicine. I want to bring up another challenge that is in our culture. And it has to do with the challenge that happens for most boys growing up and for most girls, and how it impacts us And, and I'm going to look to maybe how any of you have gone past this. For men, most boys, when we were on the playground, we learned a terrible thing. We learned that if you showed emotion, if you got hit by the ball and you cried, most of the time the other boys would make a circle around you and call you wimp, pussy, faggot, these really ugly terms that dehumanize the feminine and dehumanize the feminine in a masculine body. And almost every man I've ever worked with either was the kid who did get hit by the ball or watched the kid who got hit by the ball and made a holy vow, I will never cry, I will never show my emotions. And meanwhile, all the positive role models of all the male action heroes, you see these guys get the holy crap beat out of them, and then they jump up and find a way to beat the bad guy. So there's this incredible healing that needs to happen. I want to also add one other thing that's pretty common, that's tragic in our culture, is that for most boys, their sexual experiences for the first 5 to 10 years of their life are masturbating to pornographic images, which do not convey in any way, shape, or form the reality of the feminine body, of true love, of, you know, where the woman just, yes, yes, whatever you're doing to me is wonderful. And it creates a very distorted view of what sexuality should look like, it is going to be like. Meanwhile, the tragedy for young girls growing up, as I've observed and learned and talked to my sisters, is this incredible idea that perfection is an anorexic teenage girl who looks perfect, is completely airbrushed, and again is sexualized, and that her value is her sex appeal. And it might be interesting to have Eden talk about this a little bit because she was a model, and, you know, certainly can probably talk about being sexualized and all the value, you know, all that you got out of it, but then what you had to go through with that. And so as we get older, then we have to come to terms with all the ideas that we were raised around sexuality is completely inaccurate, completely not realistic. And we have to heal those things. So I just want to bring up some of these issues and then just turn it over to all of you to share your journey of how you've gone through how you were raised, what you were raised with, and coming to the place of empowerment where you are now. And I guess I'll start with Eden.
Yeah, this is such a great angle for me, and it's powerful, Scott, because culturally we're all impacted since we were tiny toddlers. I mean, we're fed a whole load of crap with the Disney princess movies, and, you know, for the feminine to look just beautiful and you'll be saved or rescued or swooped up by a white knight or a prince on a white horse and Prince Charming and live happily ever after. And so I grew up, of course, influenced by all that, and then came of age in a time where by 15 years old, I was discovered as, you know, a model. My parents were told, oh, I was called Sarah at this time. I went by my first name. Sarah can pay for her way through college if she starts modeling now. By the time she graduates high school, she's going to make so much money. And so at 15 years old, I found myself in rooms full of people staring at me as a sex object in lingerie. And it was completely just bizarre to me to be made up with heavy makeup and big hair and, you know, really lacy lingerie at 15 when I just kind of came into an adult looking body just on that cusp after puberty. And then to be swooped into that fashion world in New York City a whole summer at 15, brought into the front of the line at discotheques, given all the free alcohol, brought to movie premieres, sat next to producers, directors, agents, and basically kind of pimped out as a 15-year-old. And even, you know, the horror stories you hear It's true where I was living in Paris at 17, getting drugged at a party, famous director, known pedophile, and just by grace escaping being raped in that situation. So these things happen all the time in these industries that then the culture idolizes and gives so much glamour to and thinks these are the elites. These are the heroes of our time because they're beautiful, because they're rich. And our culture values, the system we've been in values materialism and superficial physical beauty over inner beauty and the heart, right? I know, Pato, I was just like, go, brother, when you were sharing. And I know we're feeling a lot of resonance now. So for me to come out of the heart of darkness, I married a Playboy millionaire Coke addict by the time I was in my young 20s, and had completely lost my spiritual center. I came from, even though I was, imprinted with the Disney princess movies, my mom was a spiritual adept, reading really deep metaphysical books, got me into yoga, meditation really young. So I had this split where I was fascinated by glamour and materialism and this longing to awaken. And it wasn't until the heart of darkness in the glamour world, where my ex-husband was out all night doing coke, sleeping with other women, that I had a dark night of the soul that woke me up like, there's more to life than this. I need to get in alignment with my dharma, with my soul purpose. And later, as I went through deep healing and integration, I looked back at those modeling pictures of me selling products I don't believe in, wouldn't even buy, using my body. It's like prostitution, selling things with the body. And I took many images that I'd created, and I went to a visionary digital artist, and I created divine feminine art out of these old modeling pictures, visionary art, where I reclaimed my own image as a rite of reclamation, and just decided that I'm going to use my presence, with all of my intelligence, my body, mind, spirit, beauty, now in love, as love, for love, and model something very different, embody something very different. So that's my vow.
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably and so passionately. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I want to say, ever since I started my spiritual journey in my teens, because I didn't grow up around anything spiritual, it was reggae music that introduced me to God and Africa for my roots. And in reggae music, they used to sing about Jah. And I wanted to know, what is Jah? In reggae music, it's very male dominated. The industry is dominated. The religion of Rastafari is very male dominated. And so when I started my quest, that was the mentality I had, that the man was the king, the woman was his queen, but the queen was under the man. And the Bible says that, we have God, then Christ, then men, then women. And so when I started my spiritual journey, that turned me off. I tried to join so many religions, and I was that close in my 15 years religious studies. I was that close to becoming a Muslim, that close to becoming a Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, Baptist, all these different religions I was studying. I was that close to joining. But when I saw the male ego and how women were not equal to men, I says, no, this is created by a man for men. And so I couldn't join any religion, and I became a religious outcast because I didn't belong. I wanted to belong. I really did want to belong, but I couldn't belong, and I wouldn't lower my standards to belong. And then once I started my spiritual journey, I wanted to have a woman that was spiritually minded too. That was very, very important, because I knew that from my relationships where the woman was not spiritually minded, there was just a conflict all the time. And so when I first met Antoinette, Antoinette was not spiritual. She wasn't on a spiritual quest. You know, she was a party animal. And she was my keyboard player for a year, and I was just watching this girl in horror and shock. She was one of the guys. She spoke like one of the guys. She partied like one of the guys. She drank like one of the guys.
I drank them underneath the table.
And then at some point on our tour during that first year, the fans started asking Antoinette questions about spirituality and what I was talking about. And I just saw Antoinette just change. And it was like within about 6 months. And I started falling in love with this woman because she started to become something I admired. I actually saw her beauty. And I didn't see her beauty before that, you know. I knew she was an intelligent woman. I knew that, you know, I treated her with respect. But I actually started to love her when I saw her spiritual light start to shine. And I know Antoinette wasn't attracted to me because Antoinette's attracted to Jason Momoa. She's into Aqua Boy, you know. She likes big muscles. She likes six. She likes tall white men.
No,
you know,
not true.
But yes, it's true. And
No,
you know,
it's not.
when Jason,
everybody loves Jason Momoa.
when Jason Momoa comes on the telly and she's eating, she starts to drool. Okay, but we have looked beyond our materiality and found something within each other that we are falling in love with each other. And I know it's not my body that Antoinette loves. I know it's my mind and my personality, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I know when I get to the next world, I'm going to get the body that she wants, you know? But for now...
He's so superficial.
But for now, you know, our relationship is based on who we are on the inside. And Antoinette sometimes get worried, and sometimes I get worried because we're getting up there in age. But for me, I don't care how old she gets or how wrinkled she's get. She's still going to be the most beautiful woman in the world to me. And she's still always going to be my queen. And I'm going to always love her, no matter what.
All right, well, back to your question.
Very
One, growing up as a child, I had a brother and a sister. My brother wanted to do art and I wanted to do sports. So all the sports, my father was the one who took me out. He tried to get me onto the football team and he argued with the coaches that, so I played baseball and I did soccer and then he tried to get me on the football team. And I did not know that girls were not playing football and on the football team because I was one of the best football players. And he literally embarrassed me because he was arguing with them about how I was one of the best players out there and they would not allow me on the team. So I was a tomboy. I was called Tony for many years until somebody else in the band, his name was Tony, so I had to go back to Antoinette. I dressed like one of the guys, you know, I was just one of the ragamuffin guys. I cursed like a sailor being from Brooklyn because the guys in the band said, you know, Patro doesn't like profanity. I'm like, what the F are you talking about? You know, he never said anything, you know. He was just very, you know, very tolerant of everything. The only reason why I even started to even dress up because I felt like you, Eden, you know, it's like, you know, they only look at us for our, you know, our sexuality and being as a woman and stuff. And I was like, I'm a person who's always about the mind, you know, and that anything, especially when it came to like sports or athletes or different things, it's like these things that men can do, I felt that I could do. So I was quite the feminist in that sense, but I didn't dress like a feminist woman. I didn't try to look like a woman. I was just like one of the guys, but I didn't want to be a guy. I just felt like whatever they could do, I could do as well too. And if not, probably even better. It wasn't until when I started touring with some of the I3s, that the women who used to sing with Bob Marley, and we were touring with them, I said, look at these women. They are doing their hair, their nails, they look fly everywhere they go. I was just dressing like the guys in t-shirts and jeans because it's rough traveling on the road. But I said, these women look stellar. I think that's probably another reason why I love that show Pose, because I was like, these are divas. I was like, I need to get back into my diva, feminine divine. And so it's like, as a woman, and just be respected as a queen.
Yeah,
you know,
they weren't sexy. They were like royalty.
yes, that's how I see myself. And that's
Yes.
another reason why I said,
Yeah.
don't ever use that term. Don't ever call me bitch. Don't ever call me these things. You can call me queen. You can call me empress. You can call me sis. These are the names that I will answer to, you know, and nothing below that. And then I wanted women to just know, you know, like how powerful that they are, you know, not just in their feminine self, but also with their masculine self as well too, you know, because it's like, why, you know, we do need each other, but don't feel like you have to just totally depend on a person. Don't make this man have to, you know, take care of you. And what if he's not around, you know, because I was trying to educate women. It's like, what if something happens to him? Do we become a burden of society? Do we go out there and make our own living? Do we sit there and pay our own bills? I never liked being a kept woman. I dated a rich guy before, and I didn't like how he told me what to do and everything else. I was like, whoa, wait a second. I got my own money. I'm going to go and buy whatever I want to buy. If I want to buy champs, you know, and shoes, that's exactly what I'm going to buy. That's my own money. I can do whatever I want to do with it, but I need to be able to have my own, to be able to be in my own without someone dictating and be independent and somebody controlling me. And I needed someone who will also like be supportive of what I want to do. You know, it's a lot of times I support Patro in everything that he wants to do. But then when he decided to help me with the Wall of Moms International, it's like, all right, now you're working for me now. You know, I work for him, but it's like now he works for me. He's on my board.
In a moment, or sometime before we finish that, I am going to ask you about the Wall of Moms. But I want to go to Michael and just kind of see where you'd like to come in. We haven't heard from you a little bit, Michael, and I want to hear what's alive for you in this conversation.
Well, I really love the conversation Patro and Antoinette was having. It was like, I think it's perfect. What I learned from that is that the queen was always there, but he just couldn't see it. And a lot of us, our king and queen can be there, but we just don't see it. So to think about it, a lot of times we're looking for something, it may be already there. What happened was he had a shift. Something resonated in her that got his attention. Whoa, wait. So what I'm saying is that this is a beautiful spiritual unfoldment, because here is a person that they were working together all this time. Now, the diamond was always there, but he couldn't see it. So what's the problem? The problem is not that the diamond doesn't exist, it's my perception. Oh, I can't see it because I got to first recognize it in myself first. And then when I recognize it myself and I can see it in her, like, wow, it was always there. Something shifted. So I love that, because a lot of us are looking for something and it's already with us. And I love that, because one thing that I want to share is that I remember meeting this couple years ago in Shreveport, Louisiana. And as I was sitting with them, I sat with the man for a while. He's talking about what he's going to do for his woman. I sit with her for a while. She's talking about, I'm going to do this for him. And what I realized that their day was spent, how can I serve this person? How can I give to this person? How can I love this person? What way can I love that person? And then I realized on a higher level that the fact is that maybe, and because I started talking to spirit and said, maybe my love ain't enough. So maybe let God love her through me. And you might want to ask God to love someone through you, because my love has been taught by the world. But if I allow God's love to love through me, can you imagine the love you would experience when God is loving your mate, your soulmate through you? Woo! I got chills. And her loving, God loving her through God love is loving her, loving me through her. Woo! That's the beauty of it. And then it doesn't become work, because now you're allowing the divine to love through you. And that's heaven on earth.
Yes.
And I just want to add to that, Michael, that the sometimes in the relationship, you know, it's sometimes not that you don't see the diamond in your partner. Sometimes they are covering it, or sometimes they don't see it in themselves, you know. But when they start to allow that to be revealed to you, then you can appreciate them even more. And it's like Eden was saying, she was in a relationship with this guy who had money, but he was doing things that weren't spiritual, and it was affecting her. And that's how it works in all relationships. When if both people are on the same wavelength, they can affect each other negatively or influence each other positively. But when they're on the same positive wavelength, the relationship becomes beautiful, you know? And maybe if something had happened to that guy that Eden was with, he could have been her Prince Charming. He could have been the one if he had just saw the diamond in himself, if he wasn't obscuring it with his habits, you know? But sometimes it takes maturity and time. And you have to sometimes have the patience. If you can see that in a person, you can be patient. But if you can't see it coming out anytime soon, sometimes the pain that you will have to experience to go through that time period that it's going to take them is just too long. You know?
I think too, also when you said about Michael, you had mentioned about serving. I was like, this is Pato's thing. I see Peter just kept popping in and out and everything, but Peter was at our house the other day. And when they came with the trailer, the other two guys who had stayed, they said they were going to sleep in the trailer. I said, no, you're not. I was like, you don't know how my husband cleaned this house from top to bottom. I mean, mopping the floors, does all the laundry. I mean, he does my laundry. He irons my clothes and does my laundry. I call it rent a Pato. All the women on Facebook is like, can you rent out Pato to come over to my house? Because we're excellent house guests. Because when we go to people's homes, he will take care of people's homes. This is how he likes to serve. I don't have to worry about those things. Those were something that with my ex, I had to do all of the cleaning. You know, I had to do all the laundry, raise a child, do all the cooking, do everything that was just expected, especially when you're dealing with Black men, especially, because it was like, whoa, this is, and it was just kind of automatically in our culture. It was that way.
We're raised to think that women do the cleaning and the cooking.
But in this house, my shiny floors that's him. He does the best laundry, the whitest whites, and the cleanest stove, the cleanest floors, everything. So, but he loves doing that. He loves doing that for me, and he loves doing it. Yeah.
I love doing it, especially when she goes out.
Yes.
When she goes out somewhere and I can surprise her. And when she comes home, her bedroom is clean, the house is clean, and then I can just sit back and she comes in and goes, oh, that's so nice. And then her cooker is shining, but our cooker is shining. No, her cooker is shining because she's the best cook. But I like to clean as a service for my wife.
So for anybody out there who doesn't know, Pato also is like a very world famous musician. Not like this is, some guy on the street who doesn't have anything going on. So, okay, well, I'll, maybe if I cook and clean, she'll love me. This dude is, I've had people go, you've got Pato Banton on your show. And, so I mean, this is like a guy who's had an extraordinarily successful career. And the humility, I just thank you. Because that's true power, right? To have been as successful as you have been and are, and to have that humility, man, that's the medicine this world needs.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trish, you're up.
Yeah. So something that you all don't know about me is that I'm training to be a sex coach, and that involves 2 years of really dissecting sexuality and our beliefs around it. And in all of my psychology training and all of what I've learned has been really focused on really humanizing people. And I've started to really understand that we're groomed in infancy to subscribe to the dualistic nature of masculine and feminine. That I was born that looks in this particular way. And someone trained me in their language and how they taught me to believe through their language. That's how I think, is through my mother's language, in the way that they know. So because I look this way and I was born with certain genitalia, I was deemed a female. So now I'm expected to play out a social role, which is now part of my identity, personality, and ego. Did I subscribe to that as a child? No, I was just taught that, right? I was given this whole load of things, and now I'm like, oh, what do I do with it? So as we get into some of these really interesting, like, they don't ask us to participate in gender roles, do they? No, we're just like expected, like Patro and Antoinette bringing it up is like, oh, it's a woman's job to do the house cleaning or to do all these things. And it's actually what society has deemed as appropriate. So as we start to shift our mindset around the masculine and the feminine, it really starts to look more like equality, a type of energy that we get to integrate in our bodies and our minds. I have a couple more thoughts on this. So I read a book called A Different Mirror by Ronald Takaki. And he was an anthropologist in UC Berkeley, and he wrote about the structures of power. And it's a fantastic book if you want to understand how oppression is created. That's gender, socioeconomic status, race, and it literally takes you through the history of America, but even tidbits around how gender is created as a control mechanism. Whoa, right? Totally blowing my mind. So we were talking about pornographic material. That's where we started in this question. And so again, it's what we're trained to believe or think is how we start to step in the world. Eden was told that she could make money doing this thing, looking this certain way. So she played the role until she realized that that was a role, that was a belief system that she didn't have to subscribe to anymore. And what was really powerful? I love Pose. I think it's really fascinating and beautiful. And there's a documentary called Paris is Burning by Jenny Livingston. And that's actually that's a documentary about the ball culture in New York and where that actually came from and their struggles and their fight for just their true authenticity. Like that's all they wanted, is just to be authentic, to be real, to be seen and validated for their humanity. They didn't want to be seen as men dressing like women. They wanted to just feel their body, be embodied, be in the spirit of who they truly are. And so I think that it's really important to understand that it's integration of the spirit, and it's not the separation. We don't have to create the separation between masculine and feminine anymore. There is no reconciliation because there is no conflict. It's just something that we create. The last point is about Jason Momoa. And I've thought a lot about this particular thing. And I'm like, he, like the physical, yes, I mean, that's all fine and great. It's not, we aren't attracted to people's bodies per se. Like we're in animal bodies and we have pheromonal attraction, right? On whatever side. But the thing about him specifically is that he actually stands for something. And he stands for truth, right? So, I mean, if you do any research about him at all, that he's really big into protector of water. He has compassion and truth, and he's a really big protector of his family. And so what I think that a lot of people are attracted to is these safe, healthy masculine qualities, because we're like, as a culture, we're not taught to do I'm going to use this, right thing, which is staying in integrity with your word and with your center and with love and compassion for all of humanity. Like that's the piece right there. Regardless of whether it's feminine or masculine, it doesn't matter. It's, are you aligned with the compassion and the holding for all, the love of all, the integration. End rant.
Yay, Trish.
This is
I'd
like
love to jump on that if I can.
all-time amazing panel of people. I love each and every one of you and what you're sharing. Eden, you're up.
Yeah, just what you were saying about why we resonate with Jason Momoa and this protector aspect. I've done a lot of study about archetypes, divine feminine archetypes, like I was talking about for the last 11 years. And there's men that are awakening to these sacred masculine archetypes and embodying them as well. And one archetype that is really missing from our language and culture is the archetype of the steward. The steward is the protector. It's the holder of the sacred, the protector of the feminine, the innocence, nature. And we know about the magician, the warrior, the lover, and the king. And if we just think of that medicine wheel for a moment that's balanced, those axes, if we put the steward into these four positions and take the king out for a moment and have the steward balancing the warrior energy. So the steward holds and protects, and the warrior goes out on that campaign. Warriors are more dynamic and active. And then we have the lover and the magician holding the other poles. The king becomes this divine emissary and embodiment in the center point, in the axis in the middle. And this is the healthy, whole, balanced, sacred, masculine balance here that many men don't recognize. These archetypes live through me. We are this. We're here to embody these frequencies. And women can also embody the steward, the gentle protectress. Like I think of Artemis. I think of that androgynous, feminine, powerful embodiment that's here to protect, like Mama Bear, protect her children, protect nature, and to stand up and speak up. So many of us as women have been taught to be pretty nice and sweet and swallow down our truth, to not be attacked. You know, we have ancestral memory, past life memory, perhaps of being burned at the stake, of being attacked, of being hung by the neck for being wild, weird, magical, witchy, whatever. And so for us as the feminine to reclaim our throat chakras, to reclaim our voice as also embodiments of truth and protectors of what's right is so important right now. So yeah, you just inspired me with the Jason Momoa story. I want to jump in there.
And I want to remind you that he was able to make fun of himself. Remember, he did the commercial where he's taking off the muscle thing. He's taking off. He doesn't even have the hair. I mean, I love that he was willing to, like, you know, bust all the fantasies about him. I want to read a few of the things that are coming in because we're getting great comments and a couple of questions. Clementine in my chat in my watch party writes, "Wow, Trish, that is so deep. It's helping me see my masculinity in a healthy way. Thank you very much." And Ilea writes, "I'm so glad to have found Love Coach Academy and all of you here. I'm learning so much. And before I again find the courage to step into another relationship in the future, I'm opening and I'm learning and I'm being inspired by all of you. And I'm hoping there is a wonderful man within my heart personified out there." Absolutely. Thanks for that. I know that Alea lost her beloved. He passed away. My friend Florence writes, "Question. What are some of the best ways to rebuild trust if it has been damaged by these types of wounds?" So who wants to talk about rebuilding trust? Trish.
Well, I have so much to say about this because this is actually the work that I do in the world. Like, this is my coaching, this is the programs that I run. And I really want to hear what Michael has to say.
Okay. Michael, you're up.
Okay, well, what I believe is that when the trusts have been broken, it's that it's just my expectation of that person is the problem. Because I expected certain things from that person. I placed an expectation on that person. So my expectation had been broken. Because as human beings, we're going to make mistakes. As human beings, we're going to fall down. As human beings, we're going to do stuff that, you know, you're going to say, wow, I can't believe that. And a lot of times we do stuff and we ask ourselves, why did I do that? Have you ever been in a situation when you're like, damn, why did I do that? You're actually surprised what you did. So when you understand as a physical being and as an ego that there's operation, there's more than one person driving the car called the body. There might be a few people driving that car called the body, because I said to myself many times, like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? I spent 10 days in the desert meditating. And as it's called Vipassana, and I was sitting there for 10 days, and I was attacked by my own thoughts. The voice said, what do you think you're doing here, boy? You should be out there working. And then my other voice said, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? So if I am having this battle within myself, I may go down the wrong road and do something where that you think that you need to forgive me for. When myself feeling guilt and shame about it myself. So I'm already feeling that way. So what you're doing is that you got to begin to see who the person really is. See beyond the body, see beyond the mistakes, and see the spirit, see the soul. And if you know anything about unconditional love, it may be like, you know what? I love you just the way you are. Seeing the spirit past the body, because the body's going to make mistakes. It's going to fail every time. Trish, take over.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm just going to read the question again. What are some of the best ways to rebuild trust if it has been damaged by these types of wounds? So again, this is a perspective thing, as Michael's saying, is that if you really want to take responsibility and ownership of what's going on in your life, it's taking ownership that your feelings are created within you. It's a belief system that you're running. So if you can take a deep breath, drop into your body and forgive yourself and learn to really access what you want and need from that place, and to be honest and vulnerable in sharing what's real and alive for you, rather than what you're supposed to want and need. Like, that's the first step, right? So it's just accessing the inner part, slow it down, drop it into your body. And then you can come to a place of, because all of those feelings, the damage is created within you as a belief system. And then you can get help from one of the love coaches or, yeah, go ahead.
I want to add a little something, and that is for any of us to explore, what am I collecting evidence for? Because again, I'm coaching a lot of couples, and I always have to see, what are they collecting evidence for? Is each person collecting evidence to prove I can't trust you? Or are they collecting evidence to understand why you did what you did, and collect evidence to trust that you do want to love me, you do want to learn how to care for me? Now, of course, there are some times that we really need to set very clear boundaries. We need to make clear agreements. And there's sometimes we have to leave a relationship because that person just can't honor the agreements and boundaries that are precious to us. But honestly, in most significant relationships that I work with, both people actually, deep down, they want to love each other. They want to be loved. They want to be cared for, and they want to learn how to love and care for. But when the fear overtakes the ability to see the divinity in the other, and when they start collecting evidence to support, I can't trust you, because I'm running through my mind over and over all the ways that you let me down, or I'm looking to prove that I can't trust you because I really can't trust men, or I can't trust women because of choice, what happened to me earlier in my life, right? And that comes up a lot. We have to remember that when we were little and we're trying to figure out, where the heck am I? What is this place? Who am I? How does the world treat me? Often we make choices and decisions about who the world is, how the world treats us. And we oftentimes are still living based on what that 5-year-old or 7-year-old that you were decided about the world. And we need to learn how to transcend beyond that. So those are just a couple of my thoughts.
I would say, oh, go ahead, Patro.
You go, Antoinette.
All right, I was going to say that I've always heard this phrase called "what you will allow will continue," and that's one of the things that I see this in a lot of people's relationships. So if you allow trust to be broken over and over and over and over again, it's just going to continue on happening because boundaries aren't set. I don't think people should make general assumptions about all men are bad or all women are evil. Because Patos, every time we're watching some movie, he says, see how wicked them women are? How wicked women are. It's like, I said, that's not good. I know. But, you know, I don't like general assumptions, but I also see people stay in bad relationships. And it was my daughter that told me after I was with her father for 10 years, she said, you and daddy should not be together anymore. I was like, why didn't you tell me that before? I stayed because of her. She's like, this is just not good. This is not cool at all. And then when I realized that, and I became my own person, and I was discovering who I was, and it's fine. For me, I think it's good to date, you know, and just keep going through all the bad experiences you got to get to, because at some point you're going to sit there and realize what you do want. You know, because that was what I realized. I said, okay, I realize what I don't like anymore. And this is what I actually do want in a relationship. You know, and he's like, you and all your little toy boys. I said, no, the phrase is boy toys, not toy boys. The phrase is boy toys. But at the time, it was a lot of young ones that were just running after me. You know, I couldn't help it that they were all, you know, 10 or 15 or much younger years than I was, you know, but I was discovering who I was, and I started to find my own confidence. And when I started to find my own confidence, I was like, okay, I didn't have to stay in this relationship. And I think a lot of people, they just kind of stay in it because they're just afraid of actually being out there by themselves. But I was like, the sooner, it's like every time I'm having problems, it's like the sooner you get out of this relationship, the sooner you're going to find somebody better. You're going to find the next one, to the next one, to the next one, until you get it right. Take as much time as you need. Take as much time as you need, date whoever you need to date, and until you figure it out, until you find the right one. And then you say, okay, I'm not going to settle anymore. I want what I need for my life if I'm going to be happy again in this lifetime, you know.
All right. I'd like to address, I agree with everything you said and what everybody else said, but I want to address the specific question of how do you overcome the pain when somebody has broken your trust?
Yeah, thank you.
And my answer to that is with time. It takes time, because once your heart is broken, once you and your partner have agreed on the grounds and the terms of a relationship, you know, if you agree on an open relationship, then great, it's open. You can do what you want. But if you and your partner have agreed to be faithful and monogamous, and you are being faithful, and your partner lets you down and breaks your trust, and at the same time breaks your heart, you are faced with the decision: is this relationship worth the time? Am I willing to be vulnerable enough to allow my heart to be broken again? And if not, if the pain is unbearable, and if the person is not showing you signs of genuine regret and genuine repentance, then you will know if it's real or not. And then you have to decide, do I want to stay in a relationship that has the potential to hurt me again? Or do I feel as though my partner recognizes my pain and is willing to take steps to behave more in line with our agreement in the future? And if you feel as though your partner is willing to do what's right by you in the future, the pain won't go away. The love will still be there, but the pain will be there, and you will remember it over and over again for weeks or months or even years. But in time, you will overcome it, and it will become a thing of the past based on the relationship's evolution and the love that you both share. And as the trust rebuilds again, you can see that your partner has grown and has become more mature, and the love will be more mature.
Boom. We're already past our 90 minutes. So I'm going to have us do one last round. I'd like for each person to share whatever final thought they have. And then how do we get more of your medicine? How do we reach you? You know, kind of websites, web pages, credit card numbers. Oh, no, not that. But, you know, whatever you want to share with us. And I'm going to check in with WGC. I want us to do a Saturday Night Alive on this topic, and then the following Friday do a follow-up. So I'll figure out dates and times with all of you, because this is, I want so many people to see this, and I'm going to really boost this. And for all of you out there, share this with your friends. Put it out there. Put it on your timelines. Please share it, because there's so much wisdom that's been compacted. And Clementine asked to share a quick quote. It's a quote from the book, The Little Prince. To see with the heart, for the essential is invisible for the eyes. And she said, thank you. A lot of people are saying thank you. So I'll go kind of in order of that we went before. We're going to start with Eden. Eden, what are your thoughts, final thoughts, and how do people get more of you?
This has just been so juicy and delightful, and I feel really lit up and in love with all of you right now. My heart's blown open. I'd like to leave you with a final transmission, because the work I do sometimes it's a little bit more metaphorical and symbolic. So I'm going to tell you how to get in touch with me first, and then I'm going to blast you with a transmission of love. So you can find me on Facebook. I have a flourishing community and group called Live Embodied Love, or you can leave me your contact on EdenAmadora.com. Or if you want to find out more about my priestessing work and the private work I do, the mentoring, the archetypal work I do, reach out to me at awakening-beauty.net. And you can hear some beautiful testimonials and watch a video about the different archetypal goddess work I do. So I'm gonna leave you with this awakening-beauty.net. Yeah. Soon to be migrated all onto EdenAmadora.com, but we're in a little transition. So you can still contact me on EdenAmadora.com, or if you know, wow, what is this mystery school training all about? I want to read more. I want to find out now. Awakening-beauty.net. It's really about awakening to that inherent soul beauty, that essence beauty, that light within. So I leave you with this transmission on this subject from my heart to yours. You can just kind of feel it in your heart. Neither female nor male, neither left nor right. I am that I am, beyond day or night. I am the mystery of the triple flame. I am the snake with wings. I am the moon that burns and the sun as she sings. I am the heart that reveals a star. I am, we are, collective avatar. So much love to you all.
God bless you. Thank you so much. So good to have you with us. Thank you. Patro and Antoinette.
Hold on, you're muted.
Would we be able to play Antoinette's video right now, which would be the perfect segue from what Eden just said? And it's called I Am Mother Spirit.
Do you have it queued up?
I have it queued up.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Perfect.
All right, I'm going to play this. And I will, if we're short on time, I'm happy to, bypass my reflection and just play this.
No, we're good. We'll go however long we need to go.
All right then. So
that's it. Just click
I
on
need
there.
to
share computer sound, optimize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
And then that one.
I need to click share first.
Yeah, you click on that and then share.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Perfect. You got it.
All right. This is called I Am Mother Spirit. It's a collection of words that I compiled from the Urantia book, and Antoinette plays the music and narrates it very beautifully. So I'd like to share it for all the women that believe in the feminine divine.
I am your local universe mother spirit. I am the feminine divine, the universe spirit, Shekinah, Shakti, the creative mother spirit, the divine minister, and the Holy Spirit. I am the giver of the breath of life. I am omnipresent in this universe, and you actually live in me. I am a creative daughter of the infinite Mother Spirit. I am equal co-creator with your local universe creator Sun, and we have created you in our image. I am the spirit of Mother Earth and Mother Nature. I am the mystery of life, the vital energy spark, the essential factor of life plasm to the required revolutions of matter in accordance with the physical, chemical, and electrical specifications of your world. I am the cause of purposeful organic evolution and reproduction. I am the source of all life on your planet, vegetable, animal, and human. I am the inherent endowment of mammalian mother love, maternal instincts, and the bestower of mind, animal and human. I am personally maternal to all my children. I love you individually. I know you personally, and I understand you completely. I am the provider of the spirit of intuition, the spirit of understanding, the spirit of courage, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of counsel, the spirit of worship, and the spirit of wisdom. I am the Holy Spirit, and I extend to you my fostering care and spiritual ministry as I work in harmony with the spirit of truth and your indwelling spirit to lead you ultimately to the loving embrace of our Heavenly Father.
Wow. Wow. Just incredible, exquisite.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you see how that matched up, Eden? That was so perfect.
I'm doing a whole Mother Spirit album, actually, so it's like, one song, just like I'm doing a whole Black Lives Matter album, I'm doing an entire Mother Spirit album. There's like one song is just not going to do it enough justice. Mm-hmm. And I have featuring a lot of different women from all over the world, singing, speaking, narrating, just music that I produce and put together. And
so the Mother Spirit in the Urantia book teaches us that all of these aspects that we just shared with you, she is the spirit of our universe. And no matter where we are in this universe, we are inside of her. Mm-hmm. This is her, this universe is her womb, this local universe. Mm-hmm. And she is the spiritual partner of Christ, who is also a beautiful spirit that just came here for a physical experience. Mm-hmm. But it's what she does is more than any other being in our universe. Mm-hmm. So this weight of responsibility is trusted. God trusts the local universe Mother Spirit with all of these serious responsibilities, even the breath of life. So it's a beautiful thing. So, and that allows me to honor my wife and all women even more. And the Urantia book says that women have always been the spiritual leaders of humanity.
Moral standard bearer.
The moral standard bearers and the spiritual leaders. So even though might, in the animal kingdom, might rules. And that's where we have evolved from. And the simple fact that we're having this conversation is a sign that we have evolved and evolving out of this animal tendency to believe that might is right and masculine is dominant. The fact that we are so open and hearing these expressions of embracing masculinity and femininity and looking for the harmony, the spiritual harmony. And even as we say feminine divine and masculine divine, it is still something that we are evolving to. It's something that we are aspiring to attain. But to attain something, you have to aspire to it. So I encourage everyone to continue aspiring, to continue climbing, and to continue being who you genuinely are naturally.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patro. Thank you, Antoinette, for that gorgeous, gorgeous video. And definitely, when we do this on Saturday Night Alive, I want to show that video for sure. Thank you, Michael Dyer. Hey, brother.
Hey, all I want to say is that is a rose just a rose. There once was a young lady who was very sad. She was at home and all of a sudden she hears a knock at the door. And this guy brings to her a rose. She looks at the rose, he closed the door. She felt nothing. She threw the rose out the window. A few moments later, somebody knocked at the door and it's her lover. And he gives her a rose and she cries. She said, "This is the most beautiful rose I've ever seen. Thank you so much. I love you." She cherished that rose. What she didn't know, it was the same rose. So is a rose a rose? Or is it something different that gives us the feeling we have inside? So I'm excited that you have me here tonight. You can find me on Instagram as Zen Michael Dyer. And then also you can go on Amazon and find my book, Woke. Well, Woke, Michael Dyer Woke. And I love you guys. So thank you so much for everything, for you are a mirror reflection of me. I know I'm doing well because what I'm seeing are you guys. And I believe that the world is full of mirrors. And if something wrong, I don't go and clean the mirror. I might want to look at myself because there might be a spot that the mirror is trying to show me. So when I say that, I'm saying to you, it's a mirror. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Always love having you with us.
Thank you. I love you.
Trish, what do you want to complete with tonight?
So much. Wow, I really want to thank everyone for just sharing so vulnerably and for just standing for your truth in your heart. How powerful. I love that Michael just brought up this idea of sacred mirrors, and I'd love to get into that. And I know you would too, Scott. So I'm sure we will sometime. What I'm left with is sitting with one of my, I'm not going to read the whole poem. I'm not going to recite it. It's a Hafiz quote around, I'm not my gender. I'm not the dualist approach, but I am a heart. So what does a heart feel like? And so I invite you all to show up in your heart, in your compassion and your empathy today and tomorrow and the next day, and really see your partner as, or your people, your friends, as not as their gender or their physical form, but as the heart and love and spirit that they are. So thank you. And yes, you can definitely find me here on Friday nights with Scott and on Thursday mornings at the Self-Love Show or Embodied Happiness. Thank you, Scott.
Well, it's funny, Trish. You actually went where I wanted to go to conclude, which was, practicing seeing the divinity in all. Just practice seeing, call it the divine, God, life, source, whatever you want to call it, in everything, including yourself. Looking in the mirror and seeing the divinity looking back at you. And then, we start with nature. It's easier to see divinity in nature. Then we can graduate to seeing divinity in children and dogs and kitties and cats. And then the highest level of mastery is seeing divinity in the people that really trigger you, whether it's someone in your life personally, or whether it's a political figure, but learning to see the divinity in all. And, sometimes a practice that I'll do is I'll say, wow, there's God fully experiencing itself as Donald Trump. Or if I want to really take it one step further, wow, there I am fully experiencing myself as whatever, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, whoever bugs you, whoever triggers you. Just learning to see the divinity in all, because truly we all are divinity experiencing itself as Patro and Eden and Trish and Michael and Antoinette. And as each and every one of you. So thank you all for watching. Join us tomorrow night for Saturday Night Alive. We've got a great show. It's in collaboration with the Shift Network. And we've got great speakers and musicians, 6 o'clock Pacific time. Join us. And I know I'm going to see all of you again real soon. I love each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.